The first thing I remember is the silence. Not the ordinary quiet of an empty house, but a heavy silence that pressed against my eardrums, as though the walls themselves were holding their breath. Even now, thinking back, I wonder if that silence was a warning. If I had listened, really listened, I might have walked away. But temptation has its own voice, and that night, it was louder than caution. I work nights as a security guard at a thrift store on the edge of town. God is generous, the place was practically abandoned after dark. The fluorescent lights flickering over rows of second-hand furniture, boxes of trinkets. Shelves stacked with chipped dishes and forgotten toys. My job was simple. Stay awake, keep an eye on the monitors, and make sure no one broke in. It was easy money. Too easy. That night, the storm outside had swallowed the city. Wind lashed against the glass doors, and rain hammered the roof in relentless waves. The cameras blinked static, their feeds glitching every time lightning split the sky. I sat hunched in the office chair, sipping lukewarm coffee, when I noticed it. A cabinet in the far corner of the store, half buried beneath a pile of old paintings. I'd never paid attention to it before. It was tall, wooden, its surface carved with strange markings that looked more like scars than designs. What caught my eye, though, was the small brass padlock dangling from the latch. Something about that lock sparked curiosity. Why secure an item in a thrift store, where everything else was tossed around carelessly? I stared at it for a long time on the monitor, listening to the storm howl outside by 2 a.m. The silence inside felt unbearable. The hum of the lights seemed louder than my own breathing. My thoughts kept circling back to that cabinet. Finally, I stood, grabbed my flashlight, and walked out into the store. The aisles loomed like narrow tunnels, filled with broken things that seemed to shift and lean in the corner of my vision. My footsteps echoed too loudly against the linoleum floor. When I reached the cabinet, I hesitated. Up close, the wood looked darker, almost black. And when I ran my fingers over the carvings, I realized they weren't decorative at all. They were letter-shaped, unfamiliar symbols etched deep, as though someone had clawed them in desperation. The padlock was old, rust creeping along its edges. It wouldn't take much to snap it. I should have left it alone. But greed, or maybe just boredom, urged me forward. I fetched a crowbar from the supply closet. With one sharp strike, the lock cracked and fell to the floor. The sound echoed through the store like a gunshot. I froze, waiting for an alarm that never came, heart racing. I pulled the doors open inside. Wrapped in moth-eaten cloth lay an object that made my stomach twist. It was a mask, carved from wood so dark it seemed to swallow the light. Its features were twisted into a perpetual scream. The eye holes gaped, empty and endless, and the mouth was jagged, filled with teeth that looked disturbingly real. A faint, sour smell rose from it. Like old blood, I should have shut the doors and walked away instead. I reached inside and lifted it. The mask was heavier than I expected. The moment I touched it, the silence in the store deepened, as though every sound had been pulled out of the air. I swear I heard a whisper. Just one word, curling through the back of my mind, tick. My hands trembled. Sweat dripped down my neck, but I didn't put it back. I carried the mask to the office, setting it on the desk beside the monitors. The storm outside raged on, but inside, the silence was worse than ever. The lights flickered, dimmed, and for an instant I thought they'd gone out entirely. In that blackness, I felt something shift in the room with me. When the lights buzzed back to life, the mask was no longer where I'd placed it. It was sitting upright in the chair across from me. I stumbled back so fast the coffee mug crashed to the floor. My chest heaved, my breath shallow, eyes glued to the mask. It hadn't moved, couldn't move. I told myself I'd imagined it, that maybe I'd set it down wrong. But deep in my bones, I knew the truth. That mask wanted to be taken, and I had stolen it. I didn't put it back. I don't know why. Some part of me couldn't bear to. I stuffed it into my backpack before leaving the store that morning, trying to convince myself it was just a weird relic, maybe worth something to a collector. But as I locked the doors and stepped out into the pale dawn, one thought burned in my mind, cold and relentless. I had broken the rule I didn't understand. And rules, especially the old ones, are not forgiven easily.